Hi, welcome to Landscape of Mothers. I'm Jill Clifton, and this is a continuation of conversations about teenagers and how to be with teenagers as they're going through all of the things that they're going through. So one thing I learned actually amongst adults and then realized that it applied to teens is the like Instagram meme version is that when we feel supported, we can actually exceed our own expectations. And I realize I think that's like a fundamental crux piece of how we can, it's one of the pieces of really shifting our relationships with teens, right? So we're moving from having been teachers and organizers and whatever, and in the teen years, they start to take more responsibility for themselves. And what they're doing is getting in touch with their sovereignty, right? They're finding out who they are as individuals, not who they are as part of their family or as your offspring or as so-and-so's sibling or whatever. So they're trying to figure out who are they, like in and of themselves. So they're very much on an island mother exploration, right? So they're looking for what's coming up in them. And as they're doing that, they don't have experience with it yet, right? This is their first foray into this in a meaningful way. And so it shifts our relationship from being like a teacher and a teller of what to do and where to go to somebody who's more encouraging, somebody who's teaching them to be thoughtful, teaching them to kind of think about consequences or consequences not as punishment, but like if I approach this thing this way, what's likely to happen? If I approach it this way, what's likely to happen? And kind of getting them to start being able to critical think, right? So we're moving into a different phase. And what I know about people is that when we can reflect back the things that are strong in them, the things that are positive, the things that contribute in a way that we can appreciate, then those things help reinforce who they are, and without telling them necessarily, like, I want you to do this thing. Right. And that is to say, and it's not to say that we can't do correction or that we can't talk about something that's incorrect, but that as a primary mode of communication and guidance, we're starting to try to use less prescriptive kind of things and more reflective, right? So we're teaching them to be self-reflective. And so when we can say, that we see something in them that's strong or powerful, or we can reflect back to them like, oh, I noticed that when you feel better about something, it's because you kind of did this. Would that help here? Right? And the more that we're asking questions, we're posing something as a possibility as opposed to as the answer, the more that they start to trust their own inner world and inner experience and inner critical thinking, and the less and the more that they can actually exceed expectations, right? Because they feel strengthened, they feel uplifted, they feel like you're on their side. And so often we hear from teens, you don't understand. And it's really, while I can't help saying, yes, I do sometimes, that's never effective. What's way more effective is to get into that more reflective, thoughtful, questioning, what do you think kind of place. So when it's available, I'm not saying that this is the only way to approach a teenager. All I'm saying is that when it's available, it behooves us. It strengthens our relationships with our teenagers when we can allow them to feel supported so that they can go out and exceed not only our expectations, but their own. So hopefully that's helpful. I know that it like always in everything relational, it's that it's done in the appropriate time and place and way, and that differs across children. and it differs across adults. And so it's not a one size fits all. It's not a just do this and everything will be fine. But I do think it's a helpful thing to kind of think about, like how can I be in a more supportive position with my teen and still be guiding them without pointing the way. And it's a place where we have to begin to trust that the things that we taught them are in there. And I've repeatedly been pleasantly surprised to find that they are. Sometimes they also don't come back out with us in particular. I usually see in my teens, I can see my influence when they struggle with their friends and the ways that they deal with their friends and their friendships. And I don't, like, they often kind of push back against me. So here's the other thing, is that on the face of it, your teen might not be like, oh, mom, you're so smart, you know. They might give pushback, but that's also part of that experience of them finding their own sovereignty, right? Is that they start to push a little more on us, so that they can find their space, right? And even if their space ends up in the long run, like they push against us to find out that they come right back to here. And they may not think of it that way, but I see it a lot, is that there's a push at the moment that something's being said. And if I can leave it alone and not fight about it, often, at least for my kids and the dynamics we have and the friends that they have and all that kind of stuff, I often see that it comes back around to being, I can see my influence in there if I can just let them go and have their experience of pushing against me. I don't need them to agree with me all the time, even though I think they come back more often than not to the place that I was pointing at. So hopefully some of that helps. Again, if there's anything you want to hear more about, because I keep introducing a whole bunch of ideas in each one of these videos, so if there's something you want to hear more about, don't hesitate to either reach out or put it in the comments, and I will expound. All right, thank you for being here.